Well, welcome. Excited to spend some time this afternoon with you and to hear more about your practice and your studies and what you're working on. So let's start there. Tell us about you and your practice and
Okay.
what you offer to the world.
My name is Chaney Williams. My pronouns are she, they. Um, I don't know. I kind of go into this on Instagram a lot, but I really feel like birth work is like a calling for me, which I don't know. I think it's an interesting word because my great aunt is a nun, so she's always talked about her calling from God and stuff like that. And I'm not a religious person at all. I'm more spiritual, but I really do feel like birth work, specifically midwifery, is something I was called to do. I believe in a lot of ancestral stuff, like ancestral healing, and I feel like this was just a part of what I'm here for, if that makes sense. And so I did a doula training with DTI in 2018, and it was a person of color, queer doula training, which was cool, and it was for birth and postpartum. And then in that spring of 2018, I did a full spectrum doula training with Louisville Doula Project, which is a full spectrum doula collective, which I've been really heavily involved with since then. And they do sliding scale, postpartum, birth, abortion, and miscarriage support, which I think is a really important thing. And I don't know. Oh, and I'm in midwifery school. That's a big one. I was like, what else should I say? But yeah. So I started midwifery school in the fall. I started in August, and I'm at Birthwise, and I'm really excited to be there because I actually found them with when I did my doula training with DTI, and I started looking because I knew midwifery was a thing I wanted to do eventually, and it was just they were just a school that really stood out to me because it really aligned with my values, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely does make sense. I love all of these little upcroppings of queer birth workers, rooted in the full spectrum collectives that are dotted around the world.
I do too. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. And it's awesome. I'm so glad you're in midwifery school. I mean, it sounds like many folks who start attending births and attending doula trainings and stuff as a stepping stone to this an eventual goal. So it sounds like you're in the middle of that, which is amazing. And I'm curious, what are you queering right now?
Can you go more into what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean,
No, it's I know what how I would take that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people interpret it differently.
Okay.
Anything is there anything that you are making queer or that with your impact, with your perspective on it?
So I don't know. One thing that's been really important to me is I'm also polyamorous, I'm ethically non-monogamous, and intersecting that along with birth work is really important, and the queer community. And I don't know, that's something I've been really diving into, and with school and stuff. Like I don't think there's a lot of providers right now who give care from that kind of lens, all those intersections, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I don't know, one big thing that I'm working on, because I did a mini research project in school about it, is BDSM pregnancy, because I think that's a thing that's not really talked about. You know what I mean?
I do know what
And
you
yeah, it's just not. And I'm really glad that I have really great faculty and was able to find really good resources from people online of things that I thought just need to be more widely known. You know what I mean? Because it's just not talked about. It's seen as taboo.
Absolutely. Or it is talked about, but it's talked about in just the kink community and
Yes,
not at all in the
exactly.
pregnancy
Exactly.
community.
It's not there's not an intersection, and there should be,
Absolutely.
because there's just so many things with it that I feel pregnant people and providers need to know.
Yes.
Information and resource wise, and not feeling embarrassed or they're going to be judged for bringing that up.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, I love that. I agree with you. I don't think that there's a ton of providers that like would self-identify as non-monogamous or as kinky or whatever. And we're
Yeah.
in the pipeline. Like these
Yeah.
people are in school
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
going to be your providers in like a year or 3.
Yeah.
So glad you're a part of that. That's amazing. I feel so happy to see birth workers online creating these dialogues about like all of
Same.
the things that I'm like, oh, I've mentioned this with like my clients that I know are kinky and queer and
Yeah.
poly, and that's it. You know,
Yeah.
I
Like,
haven't
I don't know. My thing is like, I think the thing I struggled with for a while was like feeling like people would see me as like unprofessional for talking about that kind of stuff. But like, I don't know. My big thing is if it impacts people's care, I think it's something that should be talked about from like a very, like, there's a way to be appropriate and like about it. I'm not gonna like be like, this is my experience, but like providing that information I think is really important and like bringing up that conversation.
Yeah. And when it's your calling, you know, I'm not saying don't
Yeah.
be professional, but it's so much more than just professional too.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think that totally hit. Yeah, that is what you're querying right now. I'm
Yeah,
down.
that's what I'm querying. I'm like really diving into like research on that and
Cool.
like connecting with people who like also have interest and like making it more widely available for people to find out that kind of research and like
Amazing.
resources.
Yeah. Anyone who's into that, come hit up
Yeah.
Chaney. That's amazing. So originally, I know you said that this is a calling for you, but how did that come about? Like, what did you just like have dreams about birth? Like, what originally inspired this?
Okay. So I don't know, from like a young age I've always been really interested in birth. Like my mom, I grew up hearing a lot about like our birth stories. My older sister, she was born at 26 weeks in like 1984, and she was really, really premature. And so like I always grew up knowing her birth story and like my mom's experience with it. And I don't know, I think that started because like they also like really documented our births really well and like told us about it. Like my mom still has the like nature sound tape she listened to
Oh
while
my God,
giving like laboring with me, and it's like on my altar
that's the
because
sweetest.
she found it like a couple years ago and she was like, I was like, oh, what is this? And she was just like, oh, that's what I listened to while laboring with you. And I was like, you still have it? That's so incredible.
Yeah, do you even have a tape player? Like, can we listen?
We have a cassette, like we have like a CD cassette
I mean,
like
don't ever get rid of it.
thing. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna get rid of it. And then like she also had this book from like when she was pregnant with my sister, so it was like 1983, and it's all about labor and pregnancy. But like the pictures are just so cool, and I was really into it when I was like 3, like 5. So like I would show people who were like visiting our house, be like, "Have you seen this? Like, did you know this was a thing?" Like that kind of view about it. 'Cause it was just like so magical and like mesmerizing to me, if that makes sense. And so I think it started from there, and then it just like built upon that.
So cool. Yeah,
So
I love that. That
yeah.
kid who like brings the science textbooks to
Yeah,
preschool.
because the pictures are just really, I don't know, they're just amazing. They're like very unedited. They're like very clear. They're just like all the different things you just want to know, but like you wouldn't see in a book nowadays
Yeah,
because probably now, but like not in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
totally. Yeah, I know you have to go a certain length back
Yeah,
in
yeah,
childhood
yeah,
education to
yeah,
find like
yeah,
better content.
yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and I know you've touched on this in all your answers, but do you have a particular philosophy of support that you bring when you're doing birth work or postpartum
Yeah.
care? Yeah.
So I guess like my big philosophy is coming from my care in a like a not judgmental place, totally unbiased, trauma informed. Like it's really important to me to think about like people's experiences and experiences I know and I don't know of, and bringing all those intersections together to be like the best provider I can be for them. And like a big thing that I've been like really working with, like it goes back to like me being like more open about being like poly or like stuff like that, is one of my mentors was like, and my therapist also said this because it's something I've brought up with her, but like there are the right birth workers for everyone. And just because I'm not the right birth worker for someone doesn't mean that there's not someone else who they are. And so it's not a thing where, I don't know, I just I was in a place where I was like, I don't want to be as open about some things and I don't want to be like ostracized. But it's really important to me to like live my life in an authentic way. And because if I don't do that, it makes me really anxious. And like, I don't know, it's just, I think it's important for people to know that like people are human and we're all human beings and we all have different experiences. And yeah, like, I don't know.
That's
Just
what's
bringing that to the table and using that when like I'm giving care to someone and being like, I don't know all of their experiences. There could be things here that I don't know about or different sections of their identity that could affect that care, like remembering those things and
yeah,
keeping it in my brain because that's how I would want to be treated.
totally. Beautifully put. Amazing. Well, okay, so we know about your natal work and we want to know your natal chart. So tell us your sun, moon, and rising.
Okay, I'm really into like astrology and like tarot and stuff like that. So I'm excited to talk about this. Okay, so my sun is Cancer, my rising is Leo, and my moon is in Libra. Yeah.
Fun. I like a Libra moon. I'm a Libra.
You are cool.
Yeah,
What is it, your son or
it's my son. Yeah, but
okay, cool,
I have my
cool.
sister and my dad are both cancers, so I'm into a cancer.
Love that. Love that. I feel like whenever I tell people that I'm a Cancer, they're like, that makes sense with the line of work you're in. Yeah.
Definitely. Do you want to expound on that a little bit? Like, I really love hearing birth workers theorize about their star
Okay.
charts and their
Okay,
pollen.
yeah, I totally can. I don't know, like cancers, especially sons, are usually known as being like nurturers. And I've always been like that since I was a kid. Like I've always loved babies and like if we had like a family Christmas party, I was like the one who was like 6 years old, like holding a baby or like playing with the littler kids and like reading to them or stuff like that. And like a lot of my work I've done during college and after, like I did work like as at a Montessori school, like a forest school. I just like love working with kids. Like that's like one of my favorite things. And I think that comes in a lot like with my nurturing side, if that makes sense. And then with like the Leo rising, I don't know. That one I feel like there's like a part of me like that's very much like can be an introvert, but like when I'm around people and like meeting them for the first time, I'll like turn my personality on. That's what I call it. Like I'll bring my personality out more in a way that I wouldn't be, I don't know, just I just do. So I'm like, this is what I need to do right now, and that makes sense.
Amazing.
Like I'm very like sassy, which that's just a thing.
I love it. I can tell.
Yeah.
I like a little sassy like Leo. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for going there with me.
Yeah.
Well, what is one of your favorite things about doing birth work with queer families or being a queer poly kinky birth worker? What do you love?
I guess like my favorite thing is so much is changing about care in a way that makes me really hopeful and happy because like when I didn't go into this, but like when I first heard about like doula work, I was 14 and like I had read a zine that I just happened to order and it was just like it was supposed to be there. Like I was supposed to order it because the person it was like 2006 or 2005, but they were certifying with DONA in like Portland, Oregon or something like that. I don't know. But
Wow.
like I was like, this seems like something I want to do. And like I just felt really called to it. But like I had never heard about like abortion doulas or like any other kind of like fertility doulas or anything like that. And I feel like the birth world is making so many strides. And like I'm really excited about that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like it's becoming it's becoming more like a not like a safer comfortable place I guess, but like it's becoming more inclusive and that's so important to me because I don't know, I everyone deserves care and like in a way that is comprehensive and evidence-based and in a space that's not where they feel like they're judged. And I'm most excited about like all the changes that have happened in the birth world since I like first found out about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Even just thinking about that, like 2006 or 7 to now,
Yeah.
like the last 13,
Yeah.
14, 15 years,
Yeah.
so much.
Like when I think about like the first things I read compared to the things that are available now, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
Like everything was very like mom centric, which is not for everyone, and not everyone who gives birth identifies as a mom. And that was something that really like I struggled with for a while. Like there's books I haven't finished because of that perspective.
Yeah,
And
100%.
now there's actually like really great resources I can recommend to people that aren't just like from one point of view. And
Yeah.
I love that. That makes me so excited.
Yeah. And I think you point to a really important thing for other folks like who want to do birth work. Like it is for queer people, especially
Yeah.
for trans and gender nonconforming and
Yeah.
binary people, like fuck reading most midwifery textbooks, truly,
Yeah.
rough.
Like that's the thing I love about like the school I'm at right now, and like why I chose them is because like they are really doing the work I feel like that needs to be done for midwifery to be at the place it should be at. And they want it to be like that. It's really important to them. And like even in our classes, we use inclusive language. We like we did like a history of midwifery thing, but usually like history of midwifery would be like about history starting in like the 1800s, because that's when home birth
Yeah. For
started.
like the
Yeah, the
1960s.
1960s. But like it was it had like all different backgrounds and cultures and like different time periods. And like one of the big thing they were like was like home birth and midwifery has been here since like the beginning of time. And that's so important. There's not like one person who made home birth popular. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, if there's something that you could improve about the experience for tra- for queer and trans families, LGBTQ plus folks who are conceiving,
Mm-hmm.
birthing, what would that be? What do you want to improve?
I feel like I have a lot of answers to this. So I'm just going to go with one perspective because it's a really big question. But I don't know, like having more access to the providers and care they deserve. Because I mean, I even know in like my own experience, and like I'm not trying to conceive right now or anything like that or pregnant, but going to the doctor can be scary. And because you don't know, like I also live in like a fat body, and that's like a whole other layer of it. And I want people to have the access and care they need and want and desire, because so much like I don't know, like a good example is like people, if they don't feel comfortable just going to get a checkup, so many things can happen between that time between before when it's like an urgent thing. So I want people to feel like welcome and like they're getting the care they deserve and need.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
I feel like I
amazing.
went off like on a tangent.
Yeah, of course. I know. Let's start there.
Yeah, but let's just start like the basics. Just having not providers that are just accepting, because I think that's just like a skim, like a little layer of it. People who actually understand and care and get things. Like there needs to be more trainings and stuff like that. Like everywhere. Like everyone needs to have like that kind of training when they go to school so they can understand more. And yeah, I don't know.
Definitely. And especially for folks who don't specifically seek out programs that are already doing that, for everyone
Yeah,
else that's just
yeah,
in any
yeah.
program. Yeah.
It should be just worldwide. That should be like, that should be the baseline. And it's not. And I don't know, that makes me sad.
I hear that. Wow. Things that can make us happy are new and aspiring queer and trans
Yeah,
birth workers, because there's a bunch of them. And I'm sure
I
lots of
know. That makes me so excited.
yeah. So what advice do you have for folks who want to do what you do?
Um, I guess figuring out why they're in it, like why they want to do this kind of work, what their philosophy or like perspective is, and finding people who you can connect with, whether it be on Instagram, like social media, or in person, who have similar values as you, like philosophies, I guess you would say. because it can be really isolating. Like if you just live somewhere where there's not a lot of people who have the same point of view as you do when it comes to birth work. Because I don't know, when I first started getting into it, it was a lot of like, I keep on using this word, but like mom centric stuff.
Sure.
And like very, I didn't feel like I fit in there, but like I found people in my own community and like online who get my point of view. And I think that's really important, having that kind of support and finding like an organization or school that mimics your values that you feel comfortable with.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I know you have a lot going on right now with midwifery school, but are there any projects you're working on that you want to like cross pollinate in the community of queer birth workers, or do you need support for anything you're working on?
I don't know. I really want to make like a support group for like poly or like kinky families and stuff like that. Like that's like something I've been like thinking about for like, it's been gestating for like a couple years, because there aren't a lot of resources for that, I guess you'd say. And that's something that's really important to me. And yeah, that's just something I'm brainstorming, like gestating right now and trying to like figure it out, because I think it's something that's needed.
It's absolutely needed. I love that. And I love the idea, again, like we said earlier, like there's discussions about like pregnancy in the kink world in that context. And then we
Yeah.
everything else. We need like
Yeah.
kinky pregnant people just go to the grocery store. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
have play dates with their kiddos.
Yeah, because
Gating lactation. Yeah.
that's really the norm. That's what's going on. But like people don't have that perspective, I think. Like they think it's very like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, totally.
Which, yikes.
Unfortunately, that exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I love that you're doing that, and hopefully other folks can help you bring that baby to existence. I'll definitely keep that in my mind for my clients.
Thank you.
Ah, well, what's something you want to share about yourself that is not pregnancy midwifery related? What's something extra about your life you want to share with us?
We kind of got into this, but like I really love like witchy tarot stuff. Like tarot's like my thing. Um, yeah, that's like one of my favorite things, and like creating like little rituals where I can like set intentions for myself. And like another thing, I guess that like I not a lot of people probably know is like I have an MFA in creative writing. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, I went to school and got my MFA in creative writing poetry. So I do like a lot of like, I've done actually more like publishing white personal essays, because that's just like something that's interesting to me. And yeah, that's just something I do. Like I do it for, it's kind of like a way to process things. Like I've always seen as writing as like a way to process stuff that's gone on in my life.
Absolutely. Well, if you write a
Yeah.
poetry book about being a kinky poly midwife, I'm definitely going to read it. That's
I
amazing.
want to write a memoir eventually. That's like my goal since I was like 15.
I can see the like experiences amassing as time goes on. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, where can folks find you and support you and follow you online?
Okay, so I'm mostly on Instagram. I do not have a Facebook page. That's something I've just never done. That's just, I don't know. That's just not my thing.
We all have our.
But I'm on Instagram as the Intersectional Doula. And yeah, that's where you can find my stuff. I also have like a website, and it's like linked onto my Instagram. But that's where all my stuff is.
Beautiful. We'll make sure people can find you. Thank you so much
Thank
for chatting
you.
with us.
Thank you for giving your time and space and energy. I enjoyed it.